John D. Rockefeller didn't just get rich, he rewrote the rules of business. At his peak, he controlled over 90% of America's oil, and his fortune was so vast that, adjusted for today, it makes him the wealthiest man who has ever lived. To his rivals, he looked unstoppable. To the public, almost illegal. But here's the truth. None of it was luck. It came down to 5 rules so powerful, they still work right now. And they'll show you how to build wealth and control that most people can't even imagine. Whether you're an ambitious entrepreneur or someone determined to build generational wealth, these rules can give you an edge most people will never see coming. Rockefeller's story isn't just about oil. It's about control, efficiency, vision, leadership, and legacy. So let's start with the first move that gave him unshakable power. Rule number 1, own your supply chain. Cleveland, Ohio, late 1800s. The city was alive with the smell of crude oil, trains loading barrels day and night, and rivers glistening with an oily sheen. Most oil businessmen at the time were gamblers, buying from whoever had supply, selling to whoever would pay. They lived and died by market swings they couldn't control. But John D. Rockefeller wasn't interested in gambling. He wanted certainty, and certainty meant control. He started by buying refineries, the places where crude oil was turned into usable products like kerosene. Then he went further. He secured the pipelines, so he didn't have to rely on competitors to move his oil. He cut deals with railroads for shipping, then eventually built his own transport routes. Even the barrels that held his oil, he had them made in his own factories. Competitors woke up one morning to find that every path to market, railroads, pipelines, even the barrels, now ran through Rockefeller. He didn't just play the game, he owned the board. Every link in the chain, from the ground to the customer, ran through him. That meant lower costs, no middlemen, and no one holding him hostage with inflated prices or unreliable supply. For the modern entrepreneur, this lesson is pure gold. If you own the critical pieces of your supply chain, you not only save money, you build resilience. A coffee shop that roasts its own beans, a clothing brand that owns its production, a software company that hosts its own servers. Each becomes stronger by not depending entirely on outsiders. But control was only the beginning. Once Rockefeller had the chain in his grip, he squeezed every inefficiency out of it. Rule number 2, relentless focus on efficiency. One of Rockefeller's greatest strengths was that he noticed what others ignored. Where rival oilmen saw only barrels and profits, he saw the tiny leaks, the wasted drops, the unused scraps, the idle minutes, and he knew they were costing fortunes. Inside Standard Oil's refineries, nothing went to waste. Byproducts that competitors dumped into rivers became entire new revenue streams. Sludge was turned into lubricants. Lighter fractions became paraffin wax for candles. A chemist even turned leftover residues into Vaseline, a product still sold today. Even the barrels that held the oil were redesigned. By adjusting the amount of sealing material, Rockefeller saved a fraction of a cent per barrel. That sounds trivial, until you multiply it by millions of barrels. To his rivals, these savings looked invisible, just pennies. But those pennies crushed them. One by one, competitors realized they weren't fighting a man. They were fighting a machine that wasted nothing. Those savings funded further growth, which made Standard Oil more efficient, which lowered costs even more. A flywheel that competitors couldn't break. For a modern entrepreneur, efficiency is a hidden weapon. The game isn't always won by selling more. It's won by getting more from what you already have. That means auditing your business for leaks, automating repetitive work, repurposing waste into sellable products, making micro improvements that compound over time. Rule number 3, think long-term, not quick cash. In the oil rush, most men thought like gamblers. They chased drilling rights, hoping to strike a rich well before it ran dry. The money came fast and disappeared just as quickly. Fortunes were made and lost in months. Rockefeller played the game differently. Like a chess master in a room full of dice throwers, he played for position, not luck. While others bragged about lucky strikes, Rockefeller stayed quiet, stacking assets brick by brick. By the time they realized what he was building, it was too late. Their wells ran dry. His empire didn't. He saw that the real power wasn't in striking oil, it was in refining it. Every barrel of crude had to be processed before it could reach the market, and refining was steady, predictable, and scalable. While his rivals spent wildly chasing new wells, Rockefeller bought and improved refineries. He took modest salaries, reinvesting almost everything back into expanding operations, more facilities, better equipment, faster transport. It wasn't flashy, but it was unstoppable. Years later, when most of his competitors had burned through their winnings, Standard Oil was still standing, larger, more efficient, and deeply entrenched in every stage of the oil business. For modern entrepreneurs, the lesson is clear. Resist the temptation of quick wins if they come at the cost of long-term growth. Reinvest your profits into assets, infrastructure, and capabilities that strengthen your position year after year. The goal isn't a lucky payout. It's a business so solid that no single setback can take it down. Rule number 4, build a killer team and delegate. Rockefeller understood something that many ambitious men struggle with. You can't build an empire if you insist on doing everything yourself. He surrounded himself with some of the sharpest minds in business, managers, engineers, accountants, and gave them the freedom to run their departments as they saw fit. He wasn't looking for order takers, he was looking for problem solvers. Once he found them, he trusted them to execute without micromanaging every decision. Rockefeller's managers were so effective that rivals often couldn't tell if they were fighting one man or an army. This freed Rockefeller to focus on the bigger picture, securing rail deals, acquiring competitors, and planning Standard Oil's next strategic move. His time wasn't buried in daily operations. It was invested in steering the ship. For modern entrepreneurs, the takeaway is direct. Hire smart, trust deeply, and get out of the way. Your job as a leader isn't to answer every email or approve every invoice. It's to make sure you have the right people in the right seats, working toward the right goals. The more you delegate to capable hands, the more mental space you create for the decisions that actually move the business forward. And once the empire ran without him, he turned his focus to something even bigger: legacy. Rule number 5, use success to do good strategically. By the time Rockefeller retired from Standard Oil, he was the richest man in the world. But he didn't just write checks to random causes. He approached philanthropy the same way he approached business, strategically, with long-term impact in mind. He created foundations that attacked massive problems at their roots. The Rockefeller Foundation funded medical research that helped eradicate diseases like hookworm and yellow fever. It invested in education, building institutions that would shape generations. His giving wasn't about one-time charity. It was about creating systems that kept producing results long after he was gone. The same man accused of being the most ruthless monopolist in history also helped wipe out diseases and fund universities. Love him or hate him, his fingerprints are still on the modern world. For the modern entrepreneur, the lesson is to think of impact as an extension of your strategy. Whether it's funding scholarships, building community projects, or supporting innovation, align your giving with your long-term vision. Done right, it strengthens your brand, expands your network, and leaves a legacy that outlives your business. Rockefeller understood that real success isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in the mark you leave on the world. Rockefeller's empire wasn't built on luck. It was built on principles that still work today. Control the critical parts of your business, waste nothing, play the long game, surround yourself with the right people, and use your success to create lasting impact. I hope these lessons help you, whether it's scaling your business, protecting what you've built, or thinking bigger about the legacy you want to leave. Build with discipline, lead with vision, and leave a legacy that makes history remember your name.